that stem from Republicans, and this happened to me when I was the chair of the Black Republican Committee of Durham, the first ever launched Black Conservative Committee in the NCGOP. And we would go in. I did a back-to-school drive every year. We did a turkey drive. We were going to have a, job fair. I mean, we came up with all these different outreach engagement programs. And still, we were able to move that needle by 40% on the voter registration when we checked. But for the most part, when we would go back into some of those same communities, these people were still embedded and, holding a candle to the Democratic Party. And it's just shocking. And I think, a lot of them know, some of the women that I've worked with at the polls, at an HBCU, I won't throw out the name, but they said, Valerie, these women are, in their 60s, retired. They're like, we know the history of the Republican Party, but we don't want to sell out our race. They literally said that. I'm just sitting here like, but you care. You supposedly care about the plight of your community. This is wrong. They're not doing anything to make these, and I'll say opportunity, not a handout, these opportunities that you say are supposed to be equality, but they're not doing it, and you're okay with that because you don't want to be a sellout, but you call us sellouts? It's just funny when you sit here and think about it, but this has just been decades of, the same old rhetoric every election cycle. They come in, oh, we're going to do this and we're going to do that, and it's all their fault why you have the problems, even though I've been the city council or your state or federal congressman for years. But it's okay. It's their fault. I can't imagine anyone who would accept that.
Well, we could look at a lot of the people that continue to vote tuning in. This is Black Conservative Talk Radio. We're always right. Never left. We put God first and politics second. I'm your host, Chauncey Brown, and we're honored and blessed to have in the studio other activists and vice president of the Frederick Douglass Foundation of North Carolina, Valerie Johnson, in the studio talking about Black issues and politics in America today. The last half of the show, Valerie, if we can, we touched on so many issues, and a lot of the stuff, as you said, is repetitive. Talk about your role as vice president of the Frederick Douglass Foundation, and then talk about the goals of the organization.
Sure, absolutely. Well, first of all, Frederick Douglass Foundation has been around for more than a decade. We are a public policy Christian organization, and I stress, we are active Christians, conservatives. We bring sanctity of the free market and limited government ideas. We support, policies that are, that stem from our biblical beliefs. We go into churches. We work with the faith-based community. We have the Douglass Leadership Institute that has an initiative called the Turning the Tide, where we do work with a lot of pastors, and we go in and we teach them about public policy and how their vote and what they're voting on, what these policies mean, because a lot of people don't research it until after the fact. And we train them the proclamation and how they get involved. We vet candidates to run for, local municipalities, and the importance of having that conservative voice on the school board and city council and county commissioners. They say all politics are local. Hey, look at some of the squad who got to Congress. They started somewhere locally and got that support and built up, and now they're serving in our U.S. Congress. So those are the type of just some of the things that we do. Dean Nelson, who's one of the co-founders of FDF, he is the executive director for the Human Coalition. And we work on definitely pro-life issues, human trafficking issues with Alveda King and a woman called Catherine, she slipped, Catherine Davis. Catherine Davis and her organization, she was very instrumental, her and Alveda King and Reverend Dean Nelson, of getting the ban on abortion in Georgia. We also worked with Jack Phillips, I believe his name, the baker in Colorado who was sued by the gay couple because he didn't make their wedding cake. And, of course, they're going after him again. But we were also involved in lobbying and getting, the victory for him that first go-around. Yeah, and now Kevin McGarry, I think you posted his, he's going around doing seminars on the critical race theory. So we stay very, very relevant with the issues that are hot topic or hot buttons, and as today topics is what I should say. I'm very I was more of boots on the ground, grassroots when Clarence and I relaunched the chapter in 2017, and now that we have field directors, we have two that go out and do more of the grassroots work, which has given Clarence and myself a well-deserved break. But, him being in his 70s, he's not slowing down one bit. He's always, doing something. His schedule's been very busy. He recently testified before Congress on the Oklahoma massacre. He was recognized by Trump twice during Black History Month and at the Independence Day address, which was a phenomenal event. I think that's when he got the TV recognition, and we got so much publicity from that, and speaking engagements and appearances, endorsements. And so my role, to answer your question, is more of on the administrative side, but I do still do speaking engagements and support, candidates and work on and advise. I'm more so in an advisory role for campaigns.
Thank you so much for your service to America and our communities. Thank you for standing up for what's right, Valerie. Not what's popular, not what's emotionally expedient. It takes courage to stand up for your moral values and what you believe in. And as you talked about earlier today, we don't understand how come some people just don't get it. They keep voting for the same people expecting different results. But the results are disastrous. As you talked about earlier, the Democrats have decimated murders over again. And she says, the mayor, crime is down. When are people going to stop believing in this nonsense? Innocent people are getting pulled out of their cars and shot and killed. When are we all going to come together and realize that every life matters? Our children of God. Our children are graduating who can't even read and write. This is beyond my comprehension. We're not teaching critical thinking skills in school. We want to talk about racism. We want to talk about how bad white people are. Really? How is that going to help our children compete in society? How is that going to help them to become successful? How is that going to help them compete in a global environment? We've got kids, like I said, graduating who can't read, write, don't know math. It's sad. It really is sad in our country today. And, I want to say thank you again for fighting and standing up. We need more people like you to debunk the left narrative. Their communities are failing in distress, and they're still trying to blame Republicans. It is sad the nonsense that they are promoting, but we have to continue fighting back. If people would like to volunteer to the Frederick Douglass Foundation out of North Carolina or even donate, can you please share that information with our audience?
Chauncey, and you're welcome. And yes, and listen, I've just begun to fight, okay? and meeting people like you and, others that I've met on LinkedIn and on the different social media sites, my mentors that have been with me over the years who continue to push me and we encouraging one another. I see some of the Republicans in Congress that are starting to fight back, and I'm happy to see that they're not sort of sitting by doing nothing. We just got to push harder. We got to make those phone calls. We got to do that grassroots work. It's extremely important. Now, if people want to get involved with Frederick Douglass Foundation, they can easily go to our website, which is fdfnc.org. There is a volunteer button that you can click on and fill out a form. One of our field directors will get in touch with you. Or, if you got people who are not in North Carolina, we do have other chapters around the country, and it should be listed there. If not, just, specify your area of interest. We can use you. I'll say it like Clarence says it, the civil rights icon. He says, we'll take your time, your talent, and your treasure.
Sister Valerie, unfortunately, we're out of time. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to appear on our show, and I hope that you will come back on again because your voice is so desperately needed. Thank you so much, and God bless you and your family for all that you're doing. Really, really appreciate
Thank you.
What you.
Thank you,
Valerie,
Chauncey. Thank you for having me. I think I did, yeah.
Okay. Now, sometimes, since we're doing internet radio, there is a lag and a break. But I have to close out the show now. I have less than a minute to do that. But Thank you so much again. But we will have you back on. Okay, Valerie? Thank you so much. God bless you again, and I'll see you on LinkedIn.
Okay. Take care. Bye.
All of those tuning in today to Black Conservative Talk Radio, we were honored and blessed to have in the studio Valerie Johnson, Vice President of the Frederick Douglass Foundation of North Carolina. You can follow Black Conservative Talk on Facebook and also on LinkedIn. Please stand by. We're trying to get, again, on our show next week, Mr. McCary, who's also the Frederick Douglass Foundation president in California, to come on our show next week. So we're going to reach out to him. So please check back and for updates on Black Conservative Talk. And I'm your host, Chauncey Brown. If you want to follow me, you can follow me on Twitter at NY Talk Radio Host. That's New York Talk Radio Host, or I'm also on Facebook at Right Talk Radio Host. We want to thank all of our listeners for tuning in. We want to thank you for your support. God bless you. Be safe. And as always, keep the faith. I love you. You were so good. We got a good flow together. Yeah, I'm kind of like, it's only like 30 minutes to an hour. This is